Hey everybody, if you're just joining us, this is Abhi Kaushik, your host, and we have an amazing speaker for you here today, and that's Bill Predebon. Now, before getting started with Renatus, Bill was actually a realtor and a loan officer, and this was back in 2007, and that year, he barely made over $17,000, which, was not up to his standards, his potential, and he joined Renatus in 2008 and saw value right away, not only because he saw it was an environment which he could learn, but also an environment which he could apply what he learned. In his first year alone, Bill did 13 transactions and made over $190,000. Ever since then, Bill has grown his team. He's done over 130 deals, and we are really fortunate to have Bill here today with us, and he's going to be giving our training today. So, hey, Bill, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Right on. So, little horn. Thanks for that awesome introduction. Cool that you have all that information on what's going on. I appreciate it very much. You sound very alive and awake. Are you heading over to the volunteer thing today, or what do you got going on?
Yeah, I am actually. I'm going to be heading over there in just a little bit.
Oh, well, that's cool. Maybe that's where some of the folks are. We've got pretty light crowd today, understandably, I guess, for the national week. If you guys have anybody you can reach out to, let them know we're on the call. That's great. The more the merrier. I think we had a pretty packed call yesterday. Right on, Abdi. I appreciate the info. I appreciate the introduction. I appreciate all you do for us. I look forward to catching up with you tomorrow at Nationals and yeah, just networking and hanging out and learning some good stuff. So thank you so much, and thanks for the opportunity to be on this call. All righty. Welcome. Let's get this party started. So, man, I tell you, I've been thinking about what's going to be of value today. Speaking of value, John O'Neill is a very, I consider a very, very good friend of mine. I love seeing his testimony up there. He is just an amazing person. If you guys are heading out to Nationals, which I'm assuming the majority of you are, definitely get to know John O'Neill. Introduce yourself to him. He's someone that gives all the time. Someone that has a lot of knowledge, has a lot of experience in real estate investing, and then definitely is a strong marketer in our business who has an amazing team. And so, I was fortunate enough to get to know him pretty well. In fact, I just bonded with him when I came out to Utah in 2016 to see, speaking of that, like, just so you guys know, when it comes to this national thing and going to events, you'll hear it from Bob Snyder himself, right? So we're an event-driven business. So, when I got re-engaged in Renatus in 2016 in the spring, and working with Kevin and Dr. G, and we were kind of figuring out what we wanted to do and what direction we wanted our meetings to go, how to grow the team, what opportunities we were going to have to improve the value of our own presentations and everything. We decided that, Gary's direct resources or direct line, if you will, of the people he associated with most of the time were in Utah. So we all decided to fly out to Utah and literally take 4 days and go witness and experience what they were doing out there. Michael and John and Mitch and Nate and see what John had created with Team Elevate and so on. And so, it's always worth it whenever you want to get somewhere you want to go. The fastest path with the least resistance and the greatest opportunity for success, even with the least amount of risk, is follow the footsteps of someone who's already done it, right? And as the old saying goes, don't reinvent the wheel. But, when you're marketing the Renatus opportunity, I think it truly, I think I say it almost, if not every time, to all my guests that, what we do is we just simply do what the wealthy do, right? And you guys have heard this, but, we follow the steps of the people in front of us that have been where we want to go, right? They've done what we want to do. And so we want to do it faster with less errors, less mistakes, less cost. And so Renatus offers that opportunity. I think that's the biggest part of the Renatus opportunity too, is the fact that we have local communities, as you guys know. And so within those communities are people doing things that everybody else wants to do that comes into the community. They're looking to get started in real estate, or maybe they've done a real estate before, but they want to improve what they're doing. And there's people in the room that can help them. It's not an inherent part of what you enroll in when you enroll in the education, but it's a natural, organic environment that Bob intended to create, that we've experienced here. And so when they get there, they really have the opportunity to expedite what they're doing. I mean, honestly, people can do real estate. People can figure out how to flip houses and make money in real estate. Typically, they're going to lose a little bit here and there, but you can lose money even with education. But what I know to be true that Renatus offers is, if these people want to do it and they want to do it right and they want to do it the best and they want to have the greatest opportunity for success, the fastest. I mean, no one says, I kind of want to get wealthy in a long time. Maybe by the time I'm 100, right? No one says that. Everybody says, I want to get rich quick. I want to enjoy my retirement. I want to retire as fast as possible. I want to do all these things in a relatively short period of time. Well, if you want to do that, set yourself up to win, right? Set yourself up to do it. I mean, you've got to have all the resources immediately, even if you don't need them all at once. So, I mean, it's another great opportunity to share that information when people are deciding on which level of entry they will enroll in our education. Honestly, if they're interested in being successful fast, if they are interested in having the greatest opportunity at success and to achieve success the fastest with the least amount of restrictions, the least amount of resistance, the least amount of loss or cost, the combo is what's going to get them there. That is why the majority of the people recommend and enroll in the combo. That's why the combo is there, and that's why it's the ultimate opportunity. And so it's a great way to differentiate the two and really to create the value in the combo versus another choice of education level. All right. So anyway, just a little tangent there to get started here. I'm going to type in my cell phone number. Hopefully I'll see everybody there at the Nationals. I guess I can go to video if you guys want. Cool. We're being recorded, you guys. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to chat it in or come off mute and bring out a question with regards to real estate or your marketing and what you're experiencing and what you're doing and what challenges you're having, whatever it is. Feel free to put it in the chat and we can address it. Otherwise, we'll step into some training. So my take on, since we're doing the National Week, couple of announcements that are made every day. Welcome, because you never know. There's new people on the call. Welcome if you're brand new. Welcome if you're not. Welcome everybody for being here. I appreciate you guys being here. As you know, just make sure a couple things, housekeeping items, get registered for that event that Abdi was talking about, the cash recovery party. That is Thursday night. Get registered for that in the Utah calendar, under the Utah on Thursday night, and also register for the wrap party on the Utah calendar on Saturday night. Those events you will want to get registered at or registered for, and register your guests, as well as Friday we do have an opportunity to dress up a little bit differently to represent Renatus Rocks, and then of course the rest of the time it's business during the week when we're there, and of course formal on Friday night at the awards banquet. So most of you all know that. I don't want to waste your time being on this call in regards to that. So, my take on nationals, it's interesting. It's kind of like my take on anything. And I guess this has to go back to when I started, re-engaged in 2016. But, back in 2008, my take on events is that you go. I can't even honestly tell you why I felt that way, like why it's just what I did. Because if you know my story a little bit, I came into Renatus honestly to do real estate, and I know most people do, right? We join Renatus because we want to learn how to invest. We want to learn how to, like John said, to flip houses. We want to create wealth in real estate, whatever. But what I didn't expect was the community, right? I didn't expect all of the events, and I didn't expect the opportunity of the business. So real estate, I was fortunate. I made my first $6,000. I wholesaled the property, co-wholesaled the property with the guy who invited me into the Renatus opportunity. I was studying some classes, and I asked him, have you ever done real estate? He's like, yeah, I've done some real estate, but I did the marketing. He was mainly focused on marketing. And so I said, do you want to do some real estate? He's like, yeah, I've done some wholesaling. I'm like, cool, I'm going to do some door knocking if you want to do that. And so we decided to go out and door knock. Based on the classes taught by Chris Wilson, the negotiations class by Bob Snyder, the market analysis class I studied. And that's what I started to do, because I didn't have any money. I didn't have any way to borrow money. I didn't know how to borrow money. I didn't know how to fix and flip. I didn't know any of that stuff. I knew that if I had no money and no credit, I could do wholesaling. So anyway, the point to this is that I was fortunate, and we made 12 grand on our first deal in 6 weeks. I thought was pretty good. It might have even been a little bit less time than that. And my wife was like, oh, well, that was pretty easy. Go do it again. And I thought it was pretty easy, but it wasn't easy. What I found was the market was crashing, for lack of a better term. A lot of the properties that we thought had equity in them didn't have equity in them. They were very difficult to wholesale these properties. And so real estate was taking longer than I thought to make money. And it was at that time in 2008 when I asked a couple people in the community what they were doing to make so much money. How were they surviving? And they told me about this marketing opportunity. Of course, I had seen it. I just didn't pay attention to it. I wasn't into it. So I started looking at it a little bit more. But I didn't engage in it the way we were taught. I just simply embraced it and wanted to be a part of it. And one of the things that they told me was go to the events, right? So my thought was, if I go to the events from what the people are telling me, then I'm going to make money. And I wanted and needed badly to make money. So that's my take on the events. Like, there's all the other things that we talk about when it comes to going to the events, but we are an event-driven business, and we survive on the events and we grow on the events and you network through the events, and your business, both real estate and marketing, will live and die by events, in my opinion. There's the exception, but there are not that many exceptions. Most of the people that you hear training across the country, if not all of them, Scott Rowe, for example, have never missed a Super Saturday. They go to the events and they're the top income earners. So I figured if I went to the events, that I would become a top income earner, that I would be making money. And to some extent that was true, right? It absolutely grew my real estate business. Fortunately, I was doing well in real estate. And I'll get to that in a second, but, and I would, when I was successful in real estate, I was able to do a testimony, and then people became attracted to me based on my testimony of my real estate, and they wanted to do real estate too. And so I started to attract partners that had deals or had money or had ideas or had time or whatever it was, all those other resources that are so valuable that I may not have had. And that increased my real estate business. On a caveat, on a little side note, in 2008, I flipped that first house, and I'd started, I was also still a loan officer and a real estate agent. Primarily, I was a loan officer, and I was working on loans all the time from lead sources that I had for loans as a job. And then I had the education that I was studying. And what I found was I couldn't refinance anybody out of their home. They were dying on the stake, right? They were upside down. They were struggling, and they were their houses were underwater, and I couldn't refinance them. I couldn't bail them out. I started learning a little bit about loan modification, talking to banks and stuff. And, I started studying some of the other classes, and I started studying short sales. And so as I was studying short sales, that's what the majority of my leads became. And what I found was going to the meetings, going to the events, all of the leads I had for even my loans were all short sale possibilities. So I had to study that class. Short sales, there's nothing short about a short sale, okay? I'm not going to teach you guys short sales right now, but it got to the middle of end of 2008, I was working on literally 100 short sales. I had 100 files, and they weren't files for loans. They were deals. Like, I had the deed to the property. I could have recorded it and owned their house. I had contracts to purchase their properties, and I was negotiating with the banks on almost 100 short sales, literally 100 different loans, because some of them had more than one loan. And I was well into over 100 negotiations on loans that I was doing. And it took time. And I will tell you this, in my opinion, for everybody that you introduce to this opportunity, if they're quitting their job, if they're not making good money, if they are, whatever they're trying to accomplish, the marketing is the fastest way to money. The marketing will complement the real estate. And in my case, it literally, I don't know if it saved my marriage, but it definitely saved my life in a way. And here's why. I started going to events, but going to events, you guys like the National coming up, does not, as you know, you can't just show up at events by yourself and make money, right? Eventually you have to invite students. Awesome, right? Marketing is the fact. I love your guys' comments. Thank you, Armis. That's awesome. Amiris. What I found was that I had to actually put into practice what I was learning at the events. And literally, you guys, I know everybody's been there. Not everybody's been there, but many stories, many of us are there now or have been there at some point. to some degree, even if it's not, you didn't have bad credit or something, or didn't have a job that was making money, you were just at a point where you were desperate. And so I was pretty desperate. I was pretty desperate to make money. And I'll tell you this, like what I learned at the events was that you had to bring people to the events, and that warm market was the fastest way to qualification. I didn't necessarily write a list of 200 people, but I wrote a list of like 20. And I started to talk to the people that I knew around me that were in my real estate business, right? So I was doing the real estate. I was out studying the classes, and then I was trying to do these short sales, and I was meeting people along the way. One of the people in my neighborhood was one of my friends. And I knew that her husband had pretty much lost his job as a project manager for a builder, but he liked real estate. He liked construction, and she was traveling all the time, and she was in sales. So I started talking to her about it. I also called up the guy who taught me how to do loans. He was my boss at the loan job. And of course he was experiencing the same thing I was, which was loans were going right out the window. You weren't making the kind of money they were making as a loan officer in 2004, 5, 6, and 7. And he was interested in making big money. And so we had the opportunity through real estate and marketing with Renatus. And then I also talked to the guy who introduced me, or who was a mobile notary, had his own mobile notary business. But his mobile notary business was going out the window because nobody was getting loans anymore, and he wasn't driving around signing, and he needed to supplement his income. I didn't put out any street signs. I didn't do any Craigslist ads. I didn't do anything. I brought 12 people to an event over the course of 2 months, 45 days, and 4 of them enrolled. 4 enrolled, full combo. 3 were full combos. One was the basically like buying the AIT without the essentials back then. And I got qualified, obviously, with my 2 sales. And then I made $18,000. And I was able to use that 18 grand. And then I made another $10,000. And this was like April and May of 2008. And I hadn't made money in almost 6 months, like literally. And it changed the outcome of my Renatus experience, because making that money in the marketing enabled me to continue to do real estate and not have to get a job, most likely not get divorced. I mean, my wife wasn't going to leave me because I wasn't making money, but I was absolutely almost unemployable. I had owned my business for a long time. And before that, I was a ski instructor and a pro skier in my 20s. So I lived on my own, pretty much as my own boss, the majority of my life. Every job I had, I really got fired from, if you think about it. Which I only had a few jobs, and I got fired from them. But as a pro skier, I was independent. As a ski instructor, I was independent. And so, I was not really capable of getting a job. My college degree was not really made for me to get a degree or to get a job. It was really for me to go on to master's and to get my law degree, because I studied pre-law. And so anyway, the issue was my ability to make money. It wasn't because I wasn't making money, but it was just the culmination of all the things that I was doing with money that were making mistakes in our marriage. And so this marketing, making that kind of money in a short period of time, really was the projection. That's not the right word. What catapulted me through the real estate. It enabled me to buy a little bit more time to start to close these short sales that took a minimum of 7 months. And the whole point to this is when it comes to talking about the nationals and the events, and even the things in your local community, if you're not going to nationals, getting on these training calls, was that I was told by the best of the best, by the leaders, by the people making money, And remember back then, I mean, there was a lot of people, and this is where we're going with this company, you guys. It's unreal. But there were a lot of people making multiple six figures. When you hear Christian talk about Chad and some of the other folks and some of the folks that are on the pack now and the leaders that have been around for a long time, all the way through this, they know what it was like when Bob's old company was doing over $100 million in a year, right? And that's the opportunity you have here with the marketing. If you never ever learn to quit Renatus, you can experience an incredible opportunity to change people's lives and make money by building a team in the Renatus marketing. And so I was asking these folks, what do you do? And when they told me to do warm market and they told me to go to the events, and that's how they made money, and to bring people to the events that they knew, I did that. And it literally works. The events, so many times, you guys, of the last month that we've been talking about nationals, we've been talking about networking. When you network, giving out your card is great. I'll have business cards there. But collecting cards is the way to do it. You know, in 3-foot rule, anytime you want to obtain a lead, you grab their information. That's how you get information. We are a collection society of information. You have to collect leads through lead capture pages, email addresses, phone numbers, people calling in. Leave your name and number. You know, you walk into a doctor's office, leave your email. You buy anything online, leave your email, and then they start to solicit to you and market you. Same thing for you. You can give out your card, but if you're going to network, you got to network, right? You've got to collect names and numbers at the national. And so in doing so, when you go to your local events, it's the same thing. The local events are there for you to build relationships that will cultivate your relationships to the point where you'll be able to really partner in real estate, really find a partner or find partners. I don't have a partner. I'm not partners with anybody in the Renatus community or outside of it. I'm partners with my wife, but I partner with everybody, anybody that brings value. I partner with all kinds of people, and they become my partners, but we do not have a partnership. Sandra says, when you are at a networking event outside of Renatus, what do you say to start the conversation? That's such a good question. I can tell you this. Every time I go to start a conversation when I have a desired outcome in mind, I get nervous. I promise you that, right? And so I have to constantly remember, me too, haha, that's funny. I have to constantly remember what my elevator speech is and not sound corny, not sound salesy. So if you ever experience this to the point where you don't go talk to them, I get it. It's okay. You just do it again, right? And I've been to many networking events, you guys, where I do not get enough leads, or any for that matter, because I get too nervous to approach them without sounding like a fool and getting rejected, or just you know, them seeing right through me, right? Now, over time, obviously to avoid what I've gone through and what Sandra laughs about and she's gone through, most of us have, that nervousness or really the not even asking, is that they feel the same way, number one. And number two is we just have to ask questions, right? So if I remember to ask a question, you know, depending on the networking event, now this is actually true, this is what I do, right? Is depending on what the event is, while I'm there, I'll ask a question about that. You know, have you done real estate investing before? Are you investing now? If I'm at a personal development, have you seen this guy before or this girl before? Have you taken other personal development courses? Have you gone on any leaders retreats or any type of business retreats? I'll come up with a question about what we're there for. And that's typically what I do to start the conversation. Whatever it is that I'm networking at, even I've never done Toastmasters. I've been fortunate, I think, in my ability to speak, but I highly, highly recommend it regardless. I should go. I just haven't spent the time. But no matter where you are, whatever type of networking event you're doing, if you ask if they've ever done this before, or could they advise you on where else to go in the future, another event that you could go to, you start that conversation. Naturally, they're going to answer. People love to answer that question. Then you can, without ever bringing up Renatus, you guys, whatever they say, right? Most of the time, they're going to say, well, I guess they're going to say one of two things, right? They're going to tell you that they have been and what event they've been to. And then you can easily, right there, hey, but could I get your information? I'd love to talk to you more about that in the future. I'd love to see what else you're doing when it comes to self-development, personal development, real estate development, business development, business marketing, sales generation, lead generation, sales experience, whatever thing you're at that is within the business world, and marketing and sales and real estate and personal development and all that stuff, hey, I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about that. You can gather their information. Now, if they say no, they haven't, right? Then what's the thing that you can do? You can offer value to them. No kidding. You know what? I just started doing this, but I also have another networking event or another real estate event or another self-development event or another group of investors that I work with or whatever. I could get your information and sometime I could invite you down to our group, right? So either way, you can get their information, and then you can have the opportunity in the future to speak to them about what you want to bring them to. I don't ever, at a networking event, talk about what I do with Renatus or anything like that. I tell people that what I do. Obviously, they're going to ask. And I tell people I'm an investor or that I do real estate or, whatever it is like that. But and that's a whole nother training. But yeah, so that's you got it, Sandra. Perfect. Good, great question. So cool. So back to the point. I love these questions. You guys can always check them. I wish there were more people on the call. But I'm glad you guys are here. You can share the word. I'm out of coffee. I wish there was someone else in my household that could give me a cup of coffee. So here's the thing with events. Going to nationals and going to your local events, there's no instant gratification necessarily, right? There's going to be fun. There's going to be learning. There's going to be notes. There's going to be excitement. There's going to be events. There's going to be, it's amazing, right? At any level. Like even, you've heard me say this before, even going to Thursday nights, you guys, I would drive there with no money, right? I mean, literally there were times when I was trying to steal cash from my wife to fill the tank of gas to get to the meeting. And it wasn't that I was poor. It's just that I wasn't making any money. My accounts were negative and we had separate finances, separate accounts. We came together from a separate world and she made good money. She had money. But she also spent all her money on our bills because I had no ability to help her, really, to speak of. And so all I was a drain, which is not a fun thing. And so it didn't make sense for me to be spending more money going away on these events when I wasn't bringing any money in. So sometimes I would have to figure out ways to get to these events, and it would cause some hardship, not because she didn't support me, but because I wasn't supporting her in contributing to the family as a 30-year-old man who should be providing. and should have a damn job that was at least making money. And so when it comes to going to events, there's some expense to them. There's some cost. There's the idea of, and it's not that it's too little too late, but for this nationals, I mean, nationals around the corner is probably not, I'm not talking to anybody, I'm preaching to the choir, but this marketing isn't always about you. It's about your guests, right? These trainings. So you're going to encounter this in the future with your team and with your team's members and with your guests themselves. And when it comes to going to events and they can't afford it, or they think they can't afford it. And the other thing is being an entrepreneur, we go through ups and downs. Hopefully you guys are doing well right now. And some of you may not be doing as well right now. And so you're in that where we always experience times when money's tight as an entrepreneur. I don't care. You just always do. You've heard about people losing their entire wealth and having to rebuild, even when they did have it, right? So even the Thursday nights, when I look back, and you've heard me say this, it was the thought of going to the events was difficult. I wasn't making money. I wasn't happy. I wasn't doing real estate. I wasn't excited about anything going on in my life other than my wife, really, my dogs. And I wasn't depressed, right? Like I needed pills, but I was pissed, I was angry. I was all of those things that we all have felt before, right? And I'm not saying that you have to be broke to feel those things. You could be angry with your job, your circumstances, the time that you spend in the traffic. And again, this is not just about you, it's about everybody, right? Anybody you come in contact, there's something that pisses them off, that makes them depressed, that disappoints them in their daily routine when it comes to making money, right? I'm not talking about their family and all that stuff. I'm talking about just finances. And going to the meetings changes that, because like when I'm thinking about going to the meetings and going to the events, I'm thinking all the people that are having fun and making money. And it kind of made me even more pissed off. But when I get there and I stand in the back of the room and I watch and I listen and I learn and I observe, I'm inspired and I'm motivated and I want more. And I realize that it's possible. I realize what is possible. And I realize that it's working and that it's true and that my belief becomes stronger. Because when you leave the meetings and you're not at nationals and you're not on the Thursday night calls and the Tuesday morning trainings and Monday through Thursday trainings and all that stuff, the rest of the world is convincing you otherwise, that it doesn't work and that you need to stay where you are and all of these things. And you forget the power of the community and the events and the power of being around like-minded individuals and the power of possibility and opportunity. And the events bring you to that. They're not instant. You don't go to Thursday night and turn around and make 10 grand. Even if someone says, I'm in Thursday night, it's still a process. You don't get on a training call on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. You don't get on a follow-up and just instantly make money. You don't get paid. You don't know that in 2 weeks you're going to get a paycheck for the time you put in today. It doesn't work that way. So a lot of times we doubt going. We doubt spending the money. We doubt that it works. So when I was presented with opportunities to go to the Nationals, 2008, there was a big event. There was over 2,200, 2,500 people there. And it was, I don't know what the price was. It might've been $287 or $299 or $199. And, it was after a college where we'd already had all the classes live. And I really wasn't even a marketer, right? So I was going to this event and I didn't even know why. Like, I'm like, why am I going to this event? Like, I guess I just have to go, right? Everybody's going. I have to be there, right? You heard a couple of PAC members last night. I guess if you're not listening to the webinars every once in a while, I think that's crazy. You're missing out. But they talked about it, and the nationals and stuff like that. And darn it if I didn't just forget my thought what they said. But I'll have to come back to it. But I didn't even know why I was going to the event. Oh, they were talking about that they had to be there. I think it was Scott Rowe was saying, he didn't want Bob to have a decision to make when it came to looking at him in the future on his commitment level, right? And it's the same thing with your peers and your team and your leaders. You're just there. It's like something that you do. And so that's why I went, is everybody else was going. I needed to be there because that's what they were telling me. The people that were making the money were telling me this, right? And if they were there, they were making the money, then I should be there. There was something that just inherently came to me, which was, you don't make the money so you can go to the meetings. You go to the meetings so you can make the money. And I know everybody's heard that before, but like a lot of us think, oh, once I'm making the money, I can go to these meetings. Once I'm making the money, I can go to nationals. Once I'm making the money, I can go to regionals. Once I make the money, I can get a suit. Once I make the money, like for some reason, I don't know if it was just in my blood about being an entrepreneur, but I never thought that way. I always thought you go and then you make the money. The people that are going make the money. So the whole point to this is, in the future, when you're talking to your folks and your team and your guests, and they're making decisions on whether to be at events and stuff, we know that there's no instant gratification. There's no paycheck at the end when they walk out. That it's part of the journey and the process, and that it will help in the future, but it's not even possible. It may not even be measurable, right? You can't measure your success from your national. You could try to. For example, I try to count the number of people that I have on my team that have been going to the last 3 nationals, right? 17, 18, and now 19. So there's that little bit of measurability, if you will. But it's tough to measure your success directly from an event. So the question and the doubt comes up. But the opportunity at the events to cultivate relationships, as you've heard everybody talk about for the last month, and learn people's stories is priceless. And I think that's the most important thing when it comes to not just the national now. When we revert back to after nationals, and you have the next 9 months of the year to have the best year ever from marketing, which will grow your real estate. It's going to come down to doing the work, which is going to the meetings and going to the meetings with people. And I know I'm not supposed to use the word meeting. Going to the events, going to the epics, going to the follow-ups, going to the property tours, going to the cash flows, just showing up. In 2016, when I recommitted, as I started this training out, when I recommitted to Renatus, it was simply a commitment. Gary asked me all the time, Dr. Gary, PAC member, my friend, guy who runs responsible for the Scottsdale Renatus team, right? What's your commitment? And what did you, why did you decide, right? And what I decided was that if I was going to do the Renatus business, right, that I would just go to everything. Like there's not a question. It's not whether or not I'm going to go if something else comes up or anything like that. Now, don't get me wrong. I miss events. I mean, I don't go to every single tour every single month. We have 3 a month. Most of them, a lot of them are my properties. But sometimes when they're not, I don't always go, right? I try to go to everyone, but there are times when I don't go to everything. I don't miss Thursday nights unless I'm out of town. I don't miss Super Saturdays or intensives unless I'm out of town. Now, I have missed them. I've had events other with my wife's events or being out of town where I've had to miss, but it's very far between. And it is simply by conflict of schedule. Other than that, I never compromise the time. I don't go to a sporting event or go to a game because it's in town at that time. I don't go to a movie. I don't go out to dinner. I don't do anything that I have control over when it comes to the events. I go to the events. It's my job, okay? It is what I do no matter what. So when it comes to regionals, nationals, and even local venues, local events, that's a part of it. And the more you commit to that, the more you convince and you explain to your guests and your new team members the same concept, I know the faster you will be successful, the faster they will be successful, the more success they'll have, and things like that. Now, many of you are on this line and you probably attend most, if not all, the events. But if you are not having the success you want, obviously you can't attend those events alone. That's a whole nother training. With that, we got like 10 minutes or so. Does anybody have any, I don't know, if you got any questions or thoughts, feel free to put it in the chat, just so I'm not out here rambling and without you guys being able to talk, and you can get off mute or whatever you want.
Hey, Bill, I've got a question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
It's not really about I'm just wondering, I haven't been able to find, as far as nationals, I know the first one, you start at 8. Do you know when the events start on Friday and Saturday?
So I believe every event starts you're talking about at nationals, right?
Yeah, at nationals.
It's 9 a.m. I think registration is, Thursday registration's 8 a.m. or might even be 7:30. And then, of course, you can register Wednesday night. If you guys are in town, obviously register Wednesday night. Go to the Mountain America Center and get there first and register early because it'll be packed on Thursday. But I believe every day, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday starts at 9. And
Perfect.
yeah, it's 9 to 5 on Thursday, 9 to 2 on Friday, and 9 to 5 on Saturday.
All right. Great. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, you got it, brother. I'll look forward to meeting you there.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. Awesome. If you guys got anything else, feel free to come out on off mute or type in the thing.
Hi, Bill. I got a question.
Yeah.
So for the Wednesday registration, does that only cover to register for Thursday, or does that cover also automatically registering for the, Friday, Saturdays, things like that?
Correct. So when you register Thursday or Wednesday night or Thursday morning for the entire event, that's it. You just have to register once. What you're going to do is get your welcome packet. You'll get your T-shirt. You'll get your badge that has your name on it, all those kinds of things. They won't open the doors till 9 o'clock, most likely. They're going to keep the doors shut. You're going to get in line. You already have assigned seating, so you don't have to rush in there, but they'll start playing the video or whatever when they open the doors at 9. But once you register once, you're registered for everything. You're going to get your ticket for your meal or the banquet on Friday night, however they're going to do that. Everything will be there. You won't have to re-register ever for the rest of the weekend. The only thing you'll need to register for, of course, in your calendar is the Thursday night cash flow and the Saturday night wrap party. But everything associated with the national, you will already be registered for once you register the first time. Good question.
Hey, Bill, this is Peter again.
Yeah.
I just want to say thanks for being on here every week and helping train. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate your candid feedback and insight about how things have been for you. So thanks.
Yeah, man, that's the best. That's the reason I come back every day. I truly appreciate that. I appreciate you listening and being here. And I swear to God, you guys, if there's anything you want to ever ask me, it's been a long freaking road, guys, but it's only been 10 years, like 11 years. And if you can think about an 11-year commitment, it's not that much time. Like, your lives are going to change over the next however many years you've been with us. I mean, even if it's been 5 years, like, if you just don't learn to quit on real estate, quit on your education, and quit on Renatus, then you will succeed. Like, because any given day you can wake up, you have the exact same opportunity you had a year ago, last week, yesterday, or the day before, or 10 years ago. You have the same opportunity in real estate and in business and in the marketing. And so it's so awesome that you guys show up to these things. I'm telling you, I showed up week in and week out on the Monday night webinar and the Thursday night meeting with no success, no money, no real estate closing, no marketing success for month after month, until finally, I started to do the marketing. I told you I was able to make my first 2 sales in 45 days, which is once I started implementing what I was learning. But the showing up, Amiris, yeah, you're exactly right. You never give up, especially never give up on Renatus. Like, don't ever learn to quit. Never learn to quit, and you'll be fine. And that showing up on that Monday and Thursday, you've heard me say this before, inspired me for Tuesday, Wednesday, and then on Thursday I'd get pissed off again, and Thursday would get me through the weekend, and I could have more excitement on Friday and go back at it on the weekend and work a little harder. You're welcome, Peter. Thanks for coming out on the phone, and thank you for the appreciation. I appreciate it. Yeah. So yeah, if there's ever on these calls when I'm here, if you guys want to know, what it's anything about, like how I did a first deal, or how I raised my first money, or how I built my first team, or how I got back into Renatus, or anything that I'm not teaching on, then just let me know, and I'll discuss it with you guys anytime in the future. So, and you've got my cell phone number. I'll put that here again. 760-533-3141. Obviously, I'll be at the event. I'll be there. I'll be flying out tomorrow at 2. I'll be at Mountain America in the afternoon all night. I'll look forward to meeting everybody. I'll be at the wrap party, and I'll be there Thursday night with my team. I think I'm lucky. I think I have you got it, Michael. You're absolutely right. I think my team this year, you guys, we have, I think, 17 of us just directly related to me. When I went the first year in 2017, I think I had myself and 3 people. Last year, I had myself and 6 people. I have to check the numbers. And this year, I have myself and 17 people. So just commit. 2016, I just committed. I committed to the marketing. I committed to making the pack. I committed to making the pit. I committed to making 150 grand, then 200 grand, and so on and so forth. In addition to my job is real estate. Thursdays, is it the follow-up from the Wednesday night workshop? If so, I was told there's no need to attend that one. However, I'm going to start going. Okay. So, yeah, man, I would say, you guys, this is a great question. There is absolutely no reason not to attend everything. It's funny. When I used to go Thursday nights, the Thursday night's the same darn thing every darn time. Or in this case, Wednesday night, if your meeting is Wednesday night. And then to go to the follow-up, which we never used to have a follow-up, but now we have follow-ups in a lot of markets. And the follow-up is, the Q&A for the guest. The guest is there. We try to do a follow-up, like a one-on-one follow-up, where we can do a group follow-up, where we can answer questions, overcome objections, go over the funding, and ask for the order. And that's what you do at a follow-up. And then you book them to the next event after that follow-up. It's the same thing everywhere. And this just happens to be in a group setting. Regardless if you have someone going or you don't, if you have a guest or you don't, number one is you get motivated. You get inspired if you don't have guests, so the next time you do. Number two is I take notes. I used to take notes, handwritten, pages after pages, the same crap every week in, week out, because I was motivated and desired to be in front of the room at some day. And you don't get in front of the room because you take notes. You get in front of the room because you have results. You start to make money. You start to create a team. You start to get 5-star qualified. You start to make money. You start to build a team. And then you get recognized automatically, and you will be called up for testimony, called up to the front of the room, called up to train. You'll be asked to guest special train because you're doing things that are making things work and you're having success doing it. And we want you to share with a mind of abundance. But when you go with no one and you go without people in your group and you don't have guests and stuff like that, but you're still there, people will recognize it. You're going to be recognized for your attendance. You're going to be recognized as a partner. You're going to meet and grow with people. But more importantly, you're going to learn. You will learn that when you do have guests and when you do have clients calling you and you do have the opportunity to speak to people and invite people and follow up with people and close people and ask for the sale and book another event, it will come naturally to you. It is like practice. We practice and practice and practice anything we love. We practice reading. We practice sports. We practice music. We practice any trade, any skill, anything in the world. We practice, practice, practice. So when we get in a game situation, when we're at a concert, when we're performing, when we're talking to our kids, if we're practicing with our kids because we've never been an adult parent before and we have to practice doing diapers and practice all that other crap, we have to practice training dogs. We practice, practice, practice. So when we take our dog out on a leash and the dog sees another dog, we can implement the training. It's the same thing here. All of the meetings are practice. They're practice, practice, practice. So eventually, when you hear the top leaders in the company talk this week, they are speaking naturally as if it's second nature because they practiced for so long. And when they're successful in closing someone in 1 or 2 or 3 events over and over and over again, and they're even able to sort through people very easily and spend more time with people that are going to fund and less time with people that are never going to change their mindset, it's not because they know anything more than you and I. It's because they've gone through this over and over and over and over and over again. And they didn't only go to the meetings, but they listened at the meetings. And then they took notes at the meetings, mental or otherwise. And then they just followed through. And they eventually started implementing it. So you're exactly right there, Batman. Please, no matter what, you go to the events. It's kind of like work. It's like, you know what? We don't really do that much on Friday at work. We kind of dress down and it's kind of a fun day and we leave early on Fridays. I'm just not going to go to work on Friday. No, you go to work every day. You go to your business every day. If you're a retail store and you own a store and you own a restaurant or whatever it is, you don't shut down on Sunday because it's Sunday. You keep working. You open your store or you make no money. You go to the events. It's just what you do. You paid for it. You signed up for it. You didn't sign up for a part-time business. It can be part-time time-wise, but it's not part-time effort. All right. Great question. Love you all. I'm stoked. I'll see you on the call in the morning at 7 again. And then I will be packing on a flight out to Utah. And I can't wait to spend the next 5 days there and meet all you guys and see all you guys and spend time with you. Thank you so much for your time on this call today. I just greatly appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Have a good day. Make it great. Do something different. And I'll see you in 24 hours. All right, everybody. I'll end the meeting for all. You got my number, 760-533-3141. If you need me, put it in your phone, call me, text me, whatever you need, and I'll see you this week. Have fun, everybody. Make it a great day.